Good evening. Whew. 9:58 p.m. Saturday, December 28th, 2019. And I am in Sarasota, Florida, and I am not supposed to be. This will definitely be the first of many recordings, both audio and in a few days I plan to do a video as well as I begin what I anticipate will be many rounds of processing and trying to comprehend, understand, interpret why what happened today, why it took place, what the higher meaning could be. Clearly I'll never know for sure, but I'm left with no choice but to obviously, one, accept what happened, which I'll get to in a second. One, accept it because you can't do anything about it. Two, process and feel and honor the very real emotions, the range of emotions that I've already been up and down with. And this is about 9 hours old. 9.5 hours old since this all, what precipitated this recording, what took place, that I will explain in 1 second. But on a high level, so this is the first recording. This one's going to be probably will have the most emotion, although I am exhausted right now. And I've already worked through a good chunk of the emotional part. But I have feelings about what transpired, and now I'm trying to process it, assess to what extent I can, which is I'm learning very little. I can do to try to rectify what has transpired and sort of make it right, to try to prevent this from happening to somebody else. And then at the highest level, really, I'm seeking, and part of my recording and my attempt with this particular recording, I had just started by kind of looking up at the ceiling, and as I laid in bed here and was kind of about to say, God, spirit, universe, cosmos, light, it's all synonymous for me. But I was looking up and about to ask for guidance, on continued guidance on how to act, what decision to make going forward, how to process this, what to do with this. So here's the situation. Oh my God. Given the fact that I anticipate diving into multiple aspects of this over the course of the next few days, I'm going to start with just the highest level and most general description of what took place. On July 30th, I made the decision to book a trip to Ecuador. So I have known of this trip. This has been something that I have known about now for 5 months. The facility to which I was going, the owners of it were, and funny because my gut just went to were, not are any longer, and perhaps that's a little premature, but I don't think so. I'm going to say were. They were huge spiritual influences in my life. I'm not so sure that they're going to continue to influence me in any way. for, I do believe, in a less personal way, because obviously I didn't have, clearly, as a result of what has already transpired, there was no relationship there. I was very much a transaction. At least that is how I am feeling, which is very, very far from how I would have acted in this scenario. Highest level, Allison. Highest level. I booked a trip to Ecuador at the end of July. I booked it using, the only reason I was able to take this trip, money is still extremely, I have to be extremely wise still with every dollar spent, given all the pieces of my life, and I'll leave that piece at that for now. I do not spend money, especially spending money on myself for something that really, when it came down to it, I mean, I can make a very strong argument that it was very directly linked to my work, but it was a vacation. This was going to be a legitimate spiritual retreat, and my first genuine vacation in over 7 years, closer to 8 years. I do not spend money lightly. I do not have, and have not had for 7 years, extra money. This is the only reason I was able finally book this trip, is because I finally reached a particular point where I could spend the money, and two, where what I just alluded to, where it was very much what I perceived to be almost I needed a spiritual reboot. I needed a reboot for my work, the work of my soul, the work of my company. I've had a very, very tough 7 years since launching this, a very, very powerful past year, 2019, of massive releasing a lot that was no longer serving me, big, painful releases. And I was in search of very much a reboot, and I am a mountain person, and I live in Florida. So getting to the mountains was going to be literally feeding my soul. I have not traveled out of the country since June 2010. My passport had just been issued, so my passport is set to expire on May 1st, 2020. I was going to renew it, start the process of renewing it as soon as I got back from this trip. I had no reason to do it otherwise. It's got an expiration date for a reason. I am a seasoned domestic traveler. I am not a seasoned international traveler. I have gone internationally twice. Once in 1998 to Australia, where I was studying abroad, so the travel aspect was helped, and I don't remember all the specifics, but in no small way it was handled by my college. I went as an exchange student through the University of South Florida on my own, but the travel, I mean, it was helped. I was navigating that through my college, if not the college handled the travel part of it entirely. I really, truly can't remember. I must have paid for the flight. The college doesn't cover that, so I really don't remember the details of that. But I was working with the University of South Florida. Then in 2010, I was going to Japan. I was going with a girlfriend. We were going to see and spend time with her uncle and aunt. He was there on business, so she had been already, and so I mean, it was simple. I just needed a passport, so I got a passport. Japan's the only stamped visa on that passport. This was not booked through a travel agent. This place isn't even available to be booked through a travel agent. These are supposedly spiritual people living and doing the work of spirit by their mouths. They have been, without doubt, the biggest influence. Like, they were the first book of 40 that I read in a 7-week period in 2010, a period that led to nothing short than what I refer to my own personal spiritual awakening. These guys have been huge on my journey. I've purchased their books. I've taken and paid for a few of their at-home classes, which is to say classes that you can download. online and get the materials online. I have added their app to my phone. I've tuned into their radio programs before they were on YouTube and Facebook. I've been with these folks for 9.5 years. This was going to be the first time I met them in person. They had 12 slots for this particular retreat, this week-long retreat. And as of the end of July, there was only one slot left. I had been eyeing, seeing them, and visiting their facility back when when I first learned of them, they lived in Guatemala. Then they were in Uruguay. And just over 2 years ago, they moved to Ecuador. I've been looking into each of those places I looked into. But again, I was in nowhere where I could justify a trip that was, even on the need side, it was still more of a want than a need. Because I believe, from the great spirit of truth, the truth with a capital T, everything in human form, we need a roof over our head, we need food, we need water. And really everything else beyond that is a want. Now, we've got like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you will. But this was more of a want than a need. Now, I do perceive myself to need a spiritual reboot in my human form here. But that could have been accomplished in a multitude of ways. My ex was definitely suspicious of these guys, but in my experience in general, men tend to be not at all trusting, whereas women tend to be very trusting. And I like to I'm still learning very, very big lessons on feelings, because really you go on a feeling. And I definitely had been triggered more so by the wife than the husband on some money aspects, and it's tough. We live in a world still where the majority of you got to have money to a large degree. I understand that people have to make livings, people have things to pay. I get it. But that gets to be a little fuzzy when you start proclaiming to be doing work of spirit. And I myself am going to be navigating that for the rest of this life, because I am claiming that I want to be dedicating my life full time, all the time, to doing the work of spirit. But I naively jumped in and didn't even care about the money 7 years ago when I launched everything, got myself in a mountain of debt, and had to learn the hard lesson of, hello, we live in a world of form here. We live in a world where money is still needed, where you've got to take care of yourself. Like, no matter what, you can't be running around and doing things for free, Allison. You're not a millionaire. You're not a billionaire. You don't have a plethora of money. And that, interestingly, and not accidentally, money and learning to navigate this very fine line of how do you charge money for something that is supposedly beyond the world of money. And each person out there that claims to be doing some sort of work of spirit in some way, of service, has to navigate that, and it looks different for every single person. But there is a feeling of what is right and what is wrong, and nothing about what is happening right now on their end is feeling right to me. Not a damn thing. So much so that I don't know that I don't think I can ever go see them now. So here's what happened. I'm traveling to Ecuador. I go to check in for my flight. Now, I check in 24 hours before my Delta flights every time, and I travel no fewer than 14 weeks a year. I'm not a newbie to traveling. I go to check into my flight yesterday, and because it's an international flight, it asks for my passport information. I enter my passport information. It says, "We're sorry, we cannot process your check-in. Your passport expires in 5 months." It doesn't say anything beyond that. It doesn't give me any more further explanation. It says your passport expires in 5 months. Well, no shit. I know when my passport expires. I don't know what the problem is. So I get a twinge of worry, but I call Delta. I'm like, I'm not going to wait till tomorrow till I get to the airport. Let me call Delta. And I recently became silver medallion status, whatever that really means. I'm not really sure, but I go a notch up in terms of at least how Delta treats me. So I call Delta. I get connected to a guy named Sam. And I explained to Sam the issue. And Sam, interestingly, had recently been to Ecuador himself. And Sam clearly tried to process, my check-in and gets the same message. And he still doesn't mention to me this law this requirement, this law, this very important thing was still not spelled out to me when I spoke to Sam yesterday. He simply said, you have a booked return flight on the 5th, in 9 days, you should be fine. I think this just means they need to just verify your passport in person. You've got a booked return flight. You should be fine. I get to the airport today. And I had thought about going there a little bit extra early in case there was a problem, but I was reassured yesterday after talking to Sam that I was okay. So I didn't get there any too early. I got there hour and 15 minutes before my flight. I'm going to Atlanta. I'm not going right to Ecuador from Sarasota. I do this all the time. There's really no reason for me to believe I'm going to run into any problem. I get to the counter. Very nice woman. She goes to check me in. And she clearly runs into the same problem. She goes, I've got to call our global services in Atlanta. After being on hold for a short period of time, and I'm not freaking out at all yet, until she comes back and she says, your passport expires in 5 months. Your trip must be completed within 6 months of the expiration of your passport. You have to be back from your trip within 6 months before within 6 months of your passport expiring. I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do. You're not going. You're not able to board. You're not able to check in. Our hands are tied. There's nothing we can do. Okay, cue panic. I try to call the woman that books and handles a lot of the business side of this spiritual couple's work. She doesn't pick up at first, and I didn't even know if she would. She lives stateside. I knew she was already down there, but I don't know how. You got to be kidding me with this. I'm not an international traveler. It's not a prerequisite to be an international traveler to come to their facility. And I send her a text after she doesn't answer. She ends up calling me as another Delta woman, a more senior Delta employee, comes around the counter and is magnificent. I have nothing but raving reviews for how Delta has handled this. 100% raving. Delta, you guys are amazing. Amazing. I will continue to fly with you and be loyal to you, and everything I can possibly do. How you guys have handled this is, you couldn't have done anything more for me, and I will get to that. And they're the big evil corporation, right? I mean, they're the big corporation, and how they handled this is bearing how the supposed spiritual people are handling this. So the woman immediately is looking to blame. She wants to immediately blame Delta. She wants to blame Delta. And I'm sorry, right off the bat now, at this point now, when I'm talking to her, now I am crying. Now I am now holed up in a corner of the airport, against a wall on a chair. I'm stupefied. I'm stupefied with what my present moment was. And I don't like blame. I hate the energy of blame. And I don't think there's a lot that comes from blame. Because when you get to looking for blame, that means something undesirable for at least one person, if not multiple parties, has happened. And now there's a lot of emotion, and now somebody's just I'm not interested in blame for the sake of blame. I want to examine something. I want to try to be real and honest and open about owning the responsibility and sharing. And if it's not clear, in some cases it's clear cut, man. But most of life I've learned is in the gray area. It's not black and white. And in that case, you got to be grown-ups, you got to be mature, and it's about let's take a look at this and analyze it and try to be really fair with owning this. And let's share the responsibility if it's not clear, and let's try to figure out how to prevent it from ever happening again, if that's possible. And let's try to do the right thing by the greatest number of people. So she immediately wants to blame. She wants to blame the airline. Wants to blame me. It's almost like the airline must have notified you. There must have been something. How could the airline not? And me. And I'm thinking here, okay, there's three primary parties. There's myself, the traveler, the airline through whom I booked, and you guys, the people with whom I'm booking the entire trip. And if I had to put blame, the greatest percentage of the blame on any one of those three parties, I'm sorry, but I'm actually choosing the ones that are absolutely taking no responsibility. You folks at this facility in Ecuador. You folks that claim to be doing the work of spirit and aren't supposedly about same as usual, business as usual. And I'm sorry, I acknowledge, I know I'm in the event world. I know that there are costs that are incurred. But are you kidding me here with I'm how in the world could I have known that I was supposed to, how could I have known this? And Delta says, sorry, we just booked the flights. And let me tell you, Delta refunded every bit of my frequent flyer miles. Every one of the 69,000 frequent flyer miles I cashed in for this flight, they reimbursed and put back into my account today. They also reimbursed me for every penny I spent, because it's when you do that, you cash in, there's still associated costs. So it was like $108 and change, and they're refunding that. Delta acknowledges, and I shared with them, I said, guys, listen, can't you add a piece of programming in there that, apparently there are many countries on this list for which this rule applies, where your trip has to be completed within 6 months of the expiration of your passport. I think it's horseshit. I think it's a fucking ridiculous rule. I think it's crazy. I think that's insane. What's the purpose of the expiration date on a passport if it's null and void for certain places? And how the hell, how is that left for the traveler that doesn't travel internationally regularly to know that, when a passport is good for 10 years? Now, interestingly, as soon as I got home, I began researching how to renew my passport, which I was going to do as soon as I got home from this trip anyway. And the first thing it took me to was doing this through FedEx. And right there on the FedEx page is the first, I could see it. It said something about your trip within 6 months of your passport expiring. So clearly, this is something that with relatively recent passport, obtainers and renewers, the knowledge is out there. But I've had mine for 9.5 years. How was I supposed to know this? Additionally, I've got multiple emails going back and forth with the woman who did the booking, double checking visa, double checking that I was okay, double checking everything I knew to double check. Double and triple checking. I haven't traveled internationally, I told her, for over 9 years. I'm just trying to double and triple check to make sure everything's covered. I've got the emails showing me doing my due diligence. Delta, clearly, they just refunded everything. And the message I get from these guys is, no, they are saying that unless that costs are incurred, and they've already incurred the cost for, they're sad that I was unable to make it. They're leaning towards blaming the airline, that I can apply this towards the March event. The tuition is what they call it, tuition. But if I'm unable to do that, I'm sorry, but I forego the $888 plus I paid $70 for transportation from Cuenca tomorrow, that 24 hours notice, that I'm sure I won't get reimbursed for them, even though they will have had 24 hours notice on that. And I lost my hotel reservation. I'm out $160 at the airport hotel because Delta didn't fly to the city I needed to go to, so I had to buy $100 in-country flight on an airline called Tame. So I lost $160 for my hotel, $100 on my in-country flight, $70 for transportation that was essentially canceled within 24 hours. Okay, and $888 for this 8-day excursion on property that once I arrived, I was not going to leave. So it's not like this is a normal tourist thing where, they're booking tickets for things in advance, where clearly the costs ahead of time. This is a facility where I had to bring my own shampoo and conditioner and soap, by the way. So you're in Ecuador. I've never been, but I'm pretty sure that American dollar in Ecuador goes pretty freaking far. You claim that most of the food is grown on your property, or you're given harvests by surrounding farms. A lot of the services and things being offered were of this couple's time and their time with us. Okay, but I'm not there yet. You're really going to tell me that you feel like the right thing is that you get to keep every penny of yours and I'm out all of this? And you're going to call it, well, sometimes stuff happens, in density consciousness and beyond our control. Yeah, no shit. I'm not disagreeing with that, but why in the world should I, the small guy, incur all these losses? And the email from the husband that I did get it within an hour and a half of talking to the woman who does the booking. I said, may I speak to them, the husband or the wife, directly, please? Like, they said this has never happened. May I speak to them directly? No, I was not able to, but I got a direct email in a timely way. And they did offer for me to apply it to March. But I'm booked for an event that same weekend. I can't forego another $1,000 of work, of pay, when, like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. And I've got no recourse. I'm at their disposal. And almost immediately they said, we're sorry that your airline did not let you board. Like, no ownership of, no taking of any responsibility of this, no portion of being responsible for this. Even though we are coming to your country, we are coming to you. We are not booking through regular travel agents. And you don't think the onus lies mostly on you to communicate to us and to be aware of the travel policies for your country? If anybody has the greatest blame here, it's you guys, to hold the greatest amount of this responsibility. But okay, let's split it 3-way. Delta did their part. I'm already out hundreds of dollars. And that's just on the financial side. The emotional side of what this trip was for me. I pushed through a grueling 7-week work period, knowing this was part of my reward for myself. Grueling. The emotional and the spiritual and the mental side of what I've lost that I can't put a dollar value on, beyond the dollar. And I'm out all of that, and I'm out the dollars. Delta didn't, you guys aren't, we can't at least split it 50-50 out of the $888 that I gave you? You can't refund me half of that back? You now are telling me that the only way I get it is if I come in March, and I'm telling you, and at first I made that, and first of all, I had to make that suggestion. And then in the email, they say, we never do this, making it seem like you're doing me a huge favor, like this is my fault. At best, we share the responsibility 50-50. I did not know. I was at the airport. I was in the throes. I didn't have my calendar in front of me. I knew I was booked for an event in March. I didn't know exactly what the weekend was. I didn't know that they'd cross paths until I got home here. But their initial response, all I was looking for, I would have been even okay with that being the only offer if they had owned up to their part. Them putting the entire tone of the email, putting the onus on me, the response, and not taking a single iota of it, changes the entire nature of how I see these people. And therein lies so much so that as I'm reading the email, it's like now my entire frequency towards them has shifted. Now, I never idolized these guys. I'm sorry. I honor and have always honored what they've done, but I am an independent person. My spiritual beliefs have been comprised of reading and experiencing a multitude of things. And I have been living this for 7 years in an enormous way. I've never put these guys on any sort of pedestal. In fact, I am triggered regularly by the wife because of the number of times they push money aspects in their app, and they're like, I'm triggered a lot by her in that regard. I was coming down there as their equals. Now, I didn't feel that they necessarily saw that, and clearly now they don't. Because if you saw me and respected me the way you're almost demanding and commanding and of me to see you, like your dollar's the only one at bay here, like your time, like are you kidding me? That now I don't think I can, even if I wasn't working in March. I can't do it. And I'm just, so yet another expensive, and I've been so careful with Facebook in terms of what I share, and knowing and feeling that I've been called to begin sharing publicly again here, and it is being done with much greater discernment. And there are hundreds and hundreds of things I could share. So anytime I share anything, it may seem like I put it on there yesterday that the truth of the matter, I am taking, I just, and for me on Facebook, and it is absolutely not about numbers. But for me, if like 10 people respond to something, that's a lot. And something like, I don't know, the last time I looked, I was in the 50s of the number of people that commented and or reacted to this news that I was taking. This was big for me. This was big for me. Big. And I didn't reference this couple, and I will continue to protect their identity. I don't know many people that would resonate with them at all. And again, oh my God, it's just, so there are so many layers that I'm processing, and I still can't believe it. I should be landing in Ecuador in an hour, and instead and I love my home. I love my cats. I love, it's not that I'm in need, I miss the mountains. I'm not a big particular lover of Florida. I've said all along, I'm here for much bigger reasons. I'm here for work. This is where I'm supposed to be for the work that I'm intended to do at this time in my life. And now I'm reeling still, and I have already been, processing this for hours. But I have to decide here what I'm going to do and how I'm going to respond. And this is not the first time that I've done this. This is not the first time that I basically call bullshit on somebody. And I hate my calling sometimes. I hate it. I hate the fact that I just can't not say something when something has to be said. And more, and inevitably it's to people who are higher up in whatever their world is. They're high up, and they're certainly not used to people calling them out on their shit. And quite often there's not people, for one reason or another, that are in a position or ability to call them out on their shit. But I'm calling these guys out. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You gotta be fucking kidding me. That you're not, you guys could make this choice. This is entirely up to you. And the fact that I was just about to spend a week with you with 11 other people, and I don't even deserve a phone call. Like, you're going to do it by email. You're not even going to listen to my voice so I can express to you over the phone that I'm sorry, but how is this not, how are you able to, and they will. And I think that's part of what I'm processing. I will compose something, and it will be written, like the communication I already sent. So that's why I'm irritated with myself, because it was polite and respectful, but by doing that, I'm to some level I'm agreeing to see it the way that they're seeing it, and I'm sorry, but I don't. And I don't believe that's right. And I don't believe that's of spirit. I don't believe that, not for 1 second, that this is the right thing to do. The bare minimum, I believe you should have offered it right off the bat, is, a refund. I understand you guys have never faced this. I understand, but now you are. The character and how real somebody is. Your quality of character, the integrity of you as a human being, is revealed not when things are going well, but it's revealed when things go sideways. As my English friend Howie used to say, when it all goes pear-shaped. That's when you see what somebody is really about, and the character and integrity of somebody. How they handle when something goes wrong. And especially something like this where, man, this is fluke. This is crazy. And I respect it. I get it. And I wasn't looking to fully blame anybody, but I'm certainly not looking to own and shoulder all of this. And that's exactly, me and Delta are shouldering it. And you guys, the spiritual, supposedly, masters, are going to make it about the dollar. Now, to be fair, well, no, he did say it. He said you can apply it to March or it goes unrefunded. I wrote back and said, I have a commitment for that same weekend. I need to see what I can do about that. And I said it politely like that, but I live in a world where my word for, now in Ironman, I'm under actual contract. But for all my other local races, it's my word. And my word is my contract. I can't go. I am under verbal commitment to work that event. Now, people back out of this guy's events all the time. But I don't want to set that precedent for myself. I'm under verbal contract for that event. And January, February, and March are my slowest months. Right now, that is the only event I have in March. I can't do it. Now, it just also so happens to be truthful that with that initial response and how they handled it, my notch of, I'm going to go down to your facility and basically, by virtue of the way it's all set up, you guys have yourself elevated above everybody else. I get it. It's your facility. I get it. But when I have somebody host them to my home, I don't walk around like they got to bow to me and like I'm better than them. Like their time and money is less valuable than my time and money. I mean, I didn't even touch upon, like, I'm not, well, you know what? I'm not shocked. I didn't want to believe it. I've been triggered, like I said, I've been triggered by the wife multiple times on the money stuff. And I've chose, well, because I don't like to assume anything until I've actually experienced it. Because I'm going to assume the most positive thing until you give me reason otherwise. And when you're playing, you put yourself out there in big ways and do these things, you learn big lessons. And clearly I'm about to learn a $1,200 lesson. And unfortunately, this isn't the first time I've learned such an expensive lesson. And I'm just, this is going to be coming out in waves. And I don't know what to do with this. I know I'm not supposed to just sit idle with this. I mean, at a minimum, I will be constructing an email tomorrow. I will give them one, I will extend a directed ask for 50% of that money back, for $444 back. I believe that's the least that they owe me, because I cannot go back in March. I cannot give up work, especially give up work to now go down and, basically participate in things where I'm anyway, this was, definitely not, this is not going to be the highest caliber recording on this, not in any way, shape, or form. But I needed to capture the essence of it. Like I said, I was starting to look up to the ceiling to say, God, you got to help me. And I'll conclude this recording with that. God's guides and angels, spirit, universe, cosmos, please help me process, help guide me through my heart. I mean, my gut, my heart is telling me, this isn't right. It's just not. And I believe that is coming from you. But I will, sleep on it, and I will give myself all day tomorrow before I actually send anything. I'll see if I hear back from them. I mean, all the travelers, I was supposed to arrive to their facility about 3:00 tomorrow. So I once everybody's there, it's even less of a chance that I'll hear from them directly. But I never, ever would I do what they are doing and feel that is right. And that to me tells me that they are no longer people I want to model. And it's unfortunate, because I do believe they're very gifted. They're very gifted in speaking of the energy of these times. But if you get to the place where the dollar is going to trump the right thing to do, you lose me. I'm sorry. If you're doing work of spirit, then, and certainly somebody in there, I'm sorry, at a word, you lost me. You've lost me. I thank you, and I will work through releasing, fitting, right? Year of releasing two of the biggest influences. But I just don't know how I follow you, knowing and having this direct experience with you, when it's so wrong. It's so wrong. It's so wrong. That's not of the light. The thing, the bare minimum should be a split of 50-50. And anything short of that is because you're saying, sorry, costs are incurred. What about on my end? How are your costs more important than mine? And again, I'm coming to you. How in the world is this my fault? And, if you do have the greater awareness and you are that much better than the rest of us, another powerful influence for me, those with the greater awareness have the greater responsibility. and parents with children, you do take, if you're going to treat us all like that and come across as being that much better than all of us, which to me that's what this is, then you do have the greater responsibility. Then this is definitely not my fault. But I'm willing to accept 50% of it, but I'm not willing to accept more than 50% of this being my fault. No way. And rest assured, I learned my lesson. I won't travel to another country again without double checking, this is not a lesson I'll learn twice. But it's shocking to me that you guys, and as powerful as you are, you're going to feel that this is the right thing. But I trust that there's a reason Spirit's guiding me away from you. And it could be just because, like I said, the wife, she doesn't hold space very much. She is very gifted, very gifted. They are very powerful spiritually, and I don't think they're cons. I don't think they're faking their ability to receive information from the cosmos, and I don't. But clearly, your words are different than your actions when it really matters, and I will work through this relatively quickly and make peace with it and be grateful, I guess, that it would have been a lot more uncomfortable to learn this lesson in a different way in person with you. And again, because I wasn't going to go there. I had this conversation with my mom just last night. I'm not going there to kiss nobody's fucking ass. Like, I honor your guys' gift, but you better be recognizing, I ain't playing no small game here. I fucking put myself almost 6 figures in debt because of the extent to which I know the money doesn't matter and it's not about the money. So, fuck. I wasn't coming there to kiss your ass. I was coming there because there aren't many places like what I thought your place was. A gathering place, a place for community to come together, to be of spirit, but really it's just to worship you guys. That's what this feels like. How else am I supposed to feel? When you elevate your losses as more than my losses. When the responsibility at worst should be shared 50-50. At best, at worst. Whatever, however, so lesson learned. Yeah, you guys will not be somebody I refer any more people to. Your books are, I don't even know if I'll put your books in my own little free library, because more power to people that find, and you help a great deal of people, and that's great. But I personally will not be referring you when I know what you're about for real at the real level. Because there's the masses level to the thousands, and then there's the real level. And you guys clearly are focused on the masses. So good luck and continued, blessings for that. But I'm not playing around with forgetting about what it's really about. And if you're too big to treat me like a human being that's legitimately equal to you, which your words say, and we're better together. Well, okay. So how does this help me? Well, it does, right? And I guess since you guys know that, right? You know that whatever I will garner, I'll garner, and that's where the real lesson is. So since you know that, you're just going to keep the money part because you can. So congratulations on that you guys are big enough and powerful enough to have all the clout. Delta will be getting ridiculous amounts of kudos from me going forward regarding this. And you guys, I'll release you soon enough, and I won't use your names, but I sure as hell will no longer be referencing you as a model for the kind of work I want to do, which is the fucking for real, on the ground for real. You better not forget about the humility of the small people and the enlightened masters that are the most humble, and not the big names and big. That's what this is about. and you guys speak to that, but how this is not a demonstration of what you speak to. I've been following you 9.5 years. This is not what you speak. And I will, like I said, I will follow an asshole that aligns to his assholeness over somebody that claims to be, I mean, it under the spirit realms, I think it's one of the most disturbing things when people are out there and they're preaching it with their words, but then when their actions come down to it. And the thing is I don't know that, I don't believe this is the essence of them. And that's why I'm struggling. That's why this, I don't know that I will do anything with this first recording. I might not. Or maybe this will be just, this one's under private for the whole story, for certain people that might care to hear the A to Z processing of this, rather than the like D to M or something. Because this is clearly the most raw one. I mean, this is and I'm way better now than I was. I mean, I was in the airport sobbing for 45 minutes before having to call an Uber ride. I mean, I've been looking forward to this for 5 months, and really for 5, for years. And $900 to me, I don't want to say it's relatively much more than it is to you, but you guys aren't hurting. I don't think you guys are hurting financially, and I'm busting my fucking ass in the physical, like in every aspect, for every fucking dollar. That's a lot of money for me. But clearly your dollar is more valuable than mine, or so you guys think. So anyway, God, I'm sorry this is going on and on. I'm looking at it, it's almost at 53 minutes. I definitely won't let it go over an hour, and I'm going to try to wrap it up again by just, I'm in the human, I'm in the character, I'm in Allison right now, and really have very strong feelings about this. And it does no good if I don't work through that as quickly as possible. And I hopefully will begin to gain a little bit more clarity tomorrow. Work through and release a little bit more of the emotion. I wasn't angry, but I've gotten more angry. Like I was disappointed more than anything. Not entirely surprised, very disappointed in the couple's response. And now I've got some anger. I'm a little bit angry. And so we'll continue processing it tomorrow. And Spirit, please continue to guide me in this. Please, please, please. I'm definitely going to start my day with, I have to like redefine. I'm just still stupefied. I was supposed to be in the mountains, but I'm not. So I've got to accept that, and it's okay. I mean, it was go time as soon as, it was scheduled to be go time as soon as I got back on the 6th. So we get 8 days back, 8.5 days back. Well, not really, because a few days is going to be spent, I'm sure, working through this. But Spirit, guide me, please. Guide me on how I am supposed to utilize this experience, privately and publicly. Because seriously, I got a whole group of my friends and family members and all the older ladies in my neighborhood were so excited, and we were like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man, that you guys are just gonna write this off like this. Oh, we're sorry, please try to breathe through your disappointment. Okay. Well, how about you breathe through your disappointment and refund me half my money? And you guys breathe through your disappointment. I don't get it. Like, I don't get how you seriously can claim. I don't. What would Jesus do? Jesus wouldn't be like, I'm sorry, we've incurred costs. No, fucking no, he wouldn't. Fuck, man, like, unbelievable. All right, let me go check on the kitties and get to bed here. Please continue to guide me. Good night.